All righty. Well, it's so good to see everyone here. And we're going to open up by having you do something that you do all the time as a business owner and an entrepreneur. So why don't you introduce yourself with your 30-second elevator pitch?
Thank you so much. Thanks, Christy, for having us here and being our moderator today. I'm Aubrey Arms of Awaken Your Greatness. I work with executives, leadership teams, organizations, and individuals who want to level up their game and grow, but they haven't been able to see the results that they want. I do this through coaching on mindset, leadership, and creating sustainable, thriving company cultures that foster empowered leaders and individuals and creates a profitable bottom line.
My name is Bella Sanger. I am the founder and CEO of Sri Bella Foods. I found this company, feels like a lifetime ago, but I found this company based on childhood experiences I had living in India in a beautiful multi-faith village. And the company that I run today is built on the values of community, inclusion, and fresh food for everyone, everywhere. And that's what we're doing today, strictly in a fresh format. That's our distinction. And you can find all of our products at many premium and other grocery stores around the Pacific Northwest.
Emma's Barbecue. I started Emma's Barbecue 5 years ago here in Seattle. My mother passed away in 2005, and she had a restaurant in Bremerton. And people kept telling us, well, you can't just let those recipes just die. You have got to do something with them. And then thought, well, yes, this could be possible. And I just embarked on that journey. My nephews got together. We have owned another restaurant in Bremerton that was run by my mother. And we sat down and did the groundwork to begin to put it together, and did so. And we have been there now for the last 5 years.
You know, every company has an origin story. And it's very brave to decide to start your own thing. So we'd love to hear what prompted you to start your own business. And then tell us a little bit about some of the unexpected turns that you may have taken along the way.
I would say what prompted, there wasn't necessarily a prompt. For me, it was a compulsion. I went to school for science. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. I already had my daughter when I started this company. So it was like, do I really want to make this really sharp turn and go do this crazy thing that sounds insane and start all over again with building blocks from basically the ground up? And the answer was yes. I was compelled, and I still am to this day, and it really helped me get through COVID with our company, that I have a mission in this life. And this mission is to bring folks together, and we use food as a vehicle for that. And that's my privilege, because I got to both grow as a culinarian, as an artist. There was times where I was working in restaurants and my parents were like, what are you doing? You've already been to college. And I was like, guys, I don't have the answers, but I'm going directionally in where my life is meant to go. And that's not always easy for people who surround you and want to protect you from downsides to understand. But entrepreneurs are crazy like that, where we have to chase this inner knowing and inner feeling. And it's not all revealed to you at once. It's revealed to you one piece at a time. And that's the beauty of it too. It's because along with it, you grow as a business person, but you also grow as a person of faith in yourself, and faith in the thing that you're building and the people that are helping you do it, and faith in your community that you're adding value, and you're better. You're all holistically better for it.
Great. I love how you shared that. And you were able to convince your parents that you didn't have to be a doctor. There are other paths and ways that you could have an impact.
I'm a doctor of food now.
There you go. I love it. Aubrey, how about you? What's your origin story? Why did you decide to start Awaken Your Greatness?
Yeah, it's funny because our Bella and I's paths are very different on how we got there, but there's a lot of overlaps and similarities. So I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I just happened to be going down my own professional development path. I was a human resources professional, and I just got into a certain point in time in my career of the reality of what human resources actually is as an organization versus really what I wanted to do, which was have life-changing conversations. And most of human resources is a lot of compliance and other kinds of things that I was just done. I was just done doing. I didn't want to do those things anymore. And it's on that path that Bella spoke to earlier about following that inner knowing. I had this inner knowing that I wanted to be a coach and really help organizations really be able to perform at higher levels. Now this entrepreneurs are crazy a little bit. I didn't even know what a coach really was at the time. I had never worked with one, but I had this inner knowing that that was the direction I needed to go into. And so I enrolled while I was still working. I enrolled into a coach training program and really started going down this pathway. And I could see how much more I could actually contribute to my organization in that role than I was able to as a human resources professional. And then just as, divine intervention, I actually ended up getting laid off from my job. And that just opened the pathway of like, okay, I guess I'm starting my own coaching practice now. So I fell into it, not by design or by intention, but I was just led that direction. And it's been a whirlwind, and I wouldn't give it up for for anything along the way.
I've always known kind of how to cook since I was 12 years old, and it was not really my dream of life because I do many different things, but it was something that I felt I had to continue for my mother. And my mother was from the deep South. She could not read, she could not write. Anything she could smell or taste, she could put her touch to it, and it was just magnificent. She was a woman that believed in people and all people. People would walk by her porch in her yard in Bremerton, and she would invite them in to just feed them. And she had that love of mankind that was so special. And I learned that in my years growing up. And there is something that is so enhancing and inviting and loving about food that I just picked up and watched her and stayed in the kitchen with her and learned how to do those things. So it was easy for me to want to give something back to community and to people and to my children and grandchildren and great grandchildren who have all come together to try to help to make Emma's a viable place in the community and have its presence. And it just makes all the difference in the world to me to be able to have that part of her legacy to be able to pass on. And it's been a joy for that reason.
So I'm going to ask you a question about what you love about being a business owner or a CEO, however you think about yourself. What are the things about it that you really enjoy? And if there's any surprises in that, it'd be good to hear that as well. Aubrey, we'll start with you.
Okay. One of the things I love about owning my own business and being a CEO is I get to say everything goes the way I want it to go, as especially in my earlier time when I was a solopreneur. And so if I don't like the way something is going, I have full authority and autonomy to change that. I don't have to run it up the flagpole. I don't have to get somebody else's buy-in. It really is my vision. So that's part of what I love, the freedom, the flexibility, both time and creative, and just like, what do I want to do? So I've been able to carve out a pathway and offer some services that aren't typical out in the marketplace, and has rewarded me really well for that.
Well, what I love about owning my own business is it allows you to be able to be, number one, very creative. You can do things that you cannot ordinarily do when you're working for someone else. You can bring, there are some situations where people ask for and invite your suggestions, and in owning your own business, you can bring those things to the table far easier than you can if you are not the business owner. I have this saying that coming in with people, because so often people come in and be it the grandchildren, the great grandchildren, my son, everyone has their own ideas. And I tell them, although I'm the owner, you can have any title in here that you want. And I tell them, I do everything from cleaning the toilets to preparing. So you can have a title, you can be an owner, you can be a worker, you can be a CEO, you can be the person that's the that works the dish pit, that works the line. Any title you want, you may have at Emma's. When you put it in that perspective to people, they really stop and try to think about, what is it that I want to do here? What is my role here? What can I do? And when you have people that bring ideas like that, it makes all the difference in the world.
Bella, what would you add?
What I love about being a CEO and a founder is that because we use food as a vehicle, I get to work with our buying partners directly and really help them see fresh food differently and how it can be a great tool for our community, how it can teach us better habits about health and how we invest in our health at the grocery store. And so that's a privilege for me. I get to be an educator. And unknowingly, another privilege of being a CEO for me was a little bit of a personal awakening I had along the path, was that, and maybe as women we do this, I don't hear this a lot from my male founding CEO friends, but I feel like as a woman, since I was a young girl to the time I was in college, to my first job, to even when I started this company, I had the expectation that I had to absolutely have the answers to everything that at all times. And if I didn't, I wasn't succeeding. And what I've actually learned by building my set of skills with myself, actually, how I communicate with myself and how I analyze my thoughts, is that that's actually not what being a CEO is all about, or anybody who's going to work and wants to be effective in their role. We have hired really smart, intelligent people to help me lead this company, to help me build this thing. And it was so freeing for me personally as a human being to know that it's okay for me not to be everything all the time. And I actually didn't realize that until I was a couple of years into running this thing. But I wouldn't have learned that lesson, I don't think, unless it was at the helm and intensity of being a CEO of a startup. And so I'm super grateful for both of those things, both getting to be an educator, but then also really an educator for myself too.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm glad you brought that up too. I mean, you learn so much because you have to, right? When you're running your own thing.
Yes.
You know, every entrepreneur has moments of doubt or fears. I think this last year has had all sorts of challenges that it's thrown at us. What's one of those challenges that you faced, and then how did you push through it?
So, you know, we are a product company. We make fresh food products. They go to grocery stores, and obviously, you know, COVID was really tough for us. We had to pivot our business. We were in one segment, and then we had to pivot much sooner than we wanted to into grocery stores. So that was hard. And one of the things that we came up against was evaluating our effectiveness as an organization and our costing. And many times companies who make products in tough times will cut corners and cut quality. But one of the things I really felt passionately about, and I had to lead on this, was that we're not cutting any corners. We built this company on values of fresh food for everybody, anywhere. And that means also quality food. As a human being and as a product company, all we have is our values and our quality of execution. And once we made that decision, everybody got on board, and that's how we spoke to our buying partners. That's how we spoke to everybody that we had to bring on now as we pivoted. And they respected that, because too often people will make the easier decision, which is to source less quality things and sell less quality things to get through tough times. But your end user, your customer, they will feel that. And you have a loyalty and an obligation to them to deliver what you promised. And I think we can learn so much from that. Even when I talk to my kids about that, and we unpacked it at the dinner table, what does that mean for who you want to be in your life? How you want to tackle problems? What's the framework in which you want to live?
That was a super incredible story, Bella, though. I just want to say, and as a consumer, I just want to say thank you. Like, thank you for not like degrading the quality, especially like high quality food. It's hard to come by anymore. Like if you're going to source it outside of yourself, it's really hard. So as somebody who fresh food is important to me, thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey, for saying that. That really warms my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, food is medicine, so that's the core of it is important. So in response to your question, Christy, so around like overcoming the fear and the doubt, I'll just speak to when I very first got started. And I think like a lot of entrepreneurs who get started, they're really good at their craft or their skill or whatever their thing is. But in terms of running a business, that's a whole different animal. And that was probably one of my biggest challenges getting started was like, I don't know how to run a business. I've never run a business before. I know nothing about marketing. Like I was really excellent at my craft and really coaching and working with people and all of that. But when it came to kind of the other sides of running a business, I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember like there was a mantra in my head at the beginning of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And there would be days where I would just cry. But then there's like okay, pull myself up and like, okay, what am I missing? What are the pieces that I don't know? And how do I get that information? And really filling in those gaps so that I learned how to run a really solid business in totality, not just be a really good coach. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to face that in the beginning.
What advice do you have for anyone who's wanting to start their own business? What do you think they should consider?
My advice to others would be to research the field that you want to get into or the business that you want to get into very thoroughly. Know the competition that is around you and make yourself a plan that that's easily for you to follow. And that would be my advice in starting.
I would say, looking back, if I could, talk to myself when I was starting out, I would say, be kind. It's a marathon. It's not a race. The learning will never end, but the learning is a privilege. So if you approach it like that, it will be natural for you to be kind to yourself. And in the consumer packaged goods space, I have found some of the best, most amazing, successful, human beings that have built really beautiful big portfolios to help me understand the industry. But as I would go to them and I'd say, okay, well, now I have this relationship with Amazon and this really big company, and I've never been on this side of the table before, and I'm scaling this. How am I supposed to act? What am I supposed to say? And I was shocked. He said to me, well, just be yourself. And I thought that was such a novel idea. He said, no, just be yourself. And I said, well, I don't know all the jargon yet. And oh my gosh, I'm going to look like an amateur. And he said, no, they're buying from you because of you. Just be yourself. And then, and he helped me to understand that myself is virtuous and valuable and effective as I am. And as a woman, I pride myself on being a nurturing mother, a really great listener, and somebody that leads with empathy. Lean into the seat of who I really am and where I feel the most authentic, and is also coincidentally where I am also the most compelling when I'm sitting on the other side of the table. And I think my buyers and the companies that I work with really appreciate that. because it speaks to the authenticity of not just who we are, but what we're building, and that they can always expect this consistency from you. Really grateful for that. Leaning into my feminine inherent nature has been a gift.
Well, and I love how all three of you talked about getting to live your values, getting to commit to things like quality that really matter to you. So it was wonderful to hear those different examples. With that, I think we have a really compelling program. So great. Thank you.
Take care.